Hello, wonderful attendees. I'm your host, Dalvinder Kaur from Lovely Professional University. Get ready to dive into today's topic that is new careers for educators. Before we proceed further, allow me to introduce the experts of that day, Dr. Nimisha Berry, Professor and Head, School of Education. With over 24 years of experience in teaching and research, she has guided numerous PhD and MEd scholars. Her research contributes include 162 publications with paper indexed in Scopus and of UGC Care journals. Dr. Berry is an active member of various academic associations. So now I would like to introduce Dr. Nivedita Srivastava, founder and business psychologist. With over 14 years of experience, she is founder and lead consultant of Nine Links. She has received multiple certifications in physiometric tools and training. She has conducted numerous corporate training programs in behavioral skills. So now I would like to introduce Miss Urmi Datta also in this webinar. She is instructional designer. Welcome Miss Urmi in this webinar. So now I would like to introduce Miss Shraddha, recruitment manager, branding, sourcing and partnership. With over 8 years of experience in education sector, specializing in strategic partnership, branding, and program management. Before we proceed further in today's session, I would like to request everyone for any questions you can write in the chat box or in the Q&A box, and same will be addressed from my side in the end of this webinar. And now I'm going to hand over this session to our expert, Dr. Nemisha Berry, and it would be an absolute delight to listen from her. Over to you, Dr. Nemisha. Dr. Nemisha, can you please unmute yourself? Yes, you can continue, Dr. Nemisha.
Okay, good afternoon to all, and I would like to welcome all my panelists, Dr. Nivedita Srivastava, founder, CEO, and business psychologist, Nine Links, Ms. Shraddha D, recruitment manager, Teach for India, and Ms. Urmi Datta, instructional designer, Henry Haven, for a panel discussion on new career opportunities for educators. As we know that the traditional classroom is no longer the only path to learning, as we are moving toward globalization and digitalizations, the concept of teaching is changing, and so the job opportunities are changing. Now teachers are not only bound into the four-walled classrooms. Basically, teachers are also moving out of their nutshells. They are moving towards different career opportunities which may be related to teaching learning, but in a different way, in a different platform. So when I talk about that, what 20 years ago the classroom was, you can see that much has changed. That because world is constantly evolving, and that too after post pandemic, you can see the digitalization has taken place. So the education needs to transform to prepare our students for the future. And so, once the education is transforming and we are preparing the students for the future, we need to prepare the teachers for that future for those students. And teachers needs to be well versed with different type of skills. And now the teachers are not only the teachers who are teaching in the schools in the four wall classrooms, they had also moved out into different arenas where they can find number of students learning on different platforms. So basically, as we say that new technologies emerge seemingly overnight, and the skills needed for success in the workforce are constantly evolving. So to keep pace with this, education needs to adapt as well, and we need to make teachers future ready for different career options, because if we imagine this kind of drift in education, there is no day gone when the education will only be on the online platform or in the different way. None of the student will be coming to the classroom. So the teachers need to be abreast with different careers which are coming into the world and where they can accommodate their teaching skills. So basically, as we say that as the world is changing, the educators are stepping into innovative tech driven roles which are redefining the future of learning and professional growth. So they need to know how they can outperform in their profession and for their professional growth. Basically, if I talk about some of the careers which are evolving apart from the main role of a teacher as an educator, once we talk about education as a discipline, we think of one of the major role, that is teacher teaching in the schools or colleges. But apart from that, there are many other roles which are evolving. Many of us know about some, but there are many which we still don't know, like a teacher or an educator or a be a trainee or I am a trainee can be a curriculum and training manager in different companies. They can plan the curriculum, they can draft the curriculum, and they can be a training manager for training on different skills to the students or to the teachers. They can be curriculum developers, developing different type of curriculum according to the need of the hour. They can be education consultant, the consultant who are giving the consultancy to different schools, different teachers, different training centers on different arenas, because now the teachers are also very you can say very informative, so they can give different type of consultancy also. They can be student coordinators, coordinating as a subject coordinator in the schools. They can be master trainers, giving trainings in some specific skills. Nowadays, content writing jobs are also emerging for the teachers. The many edtech companies requires the teachers who are well versed with the writing skills and they can write the content for the presentation of their subject matter. Apart from that, they can be social emotional learning instructors, because as the resilience is decreasing among the children, their social and emotional skills are also decreasing. So we need to inculcate those skills to make them emotionally ready and confident. For that, we require the social and emotional learning instructor, which can also be an emerging career for the educators. There may be childcare directors. The early childhood care schools are running. There we require directors who know about the child psychology, who know about the skills which are to be inculcated into the children. So for that we require childcare directors, so teachers can move into those roles also. Obviously nowadays admission has become the one of the prime priority of different organizations as we are moving towards business model and entrepreneurship. So every organization require counselors who can counsel about their subject, about their stream. So they require admission counselor who are well versed with those things. So the educator can move into a role of admission counselor. Then they can be academic advisors to different schools, to different teachers, to different organizations. Obviously nowadays corporate also require the teachers who are well versed with the subject matter, different skills. So the educators can move as a corporate trainer. Then they can also work as a school counselors, because they are learning the course of guidance and counseling. And nowadays CBSE has made a mandate that school counselors should be there in every school. So the educators can take a role of school counselors. They can be standardized test developers. Now as we see that NTA is there, different testing organizations are there, they require the good teachers who have the skills over the assessment of making items and competency based questions. So the educators can move into a role of standardized test developers. They can be subject matter expert for different freelancing agencies, for edtech companies. Obviously they can open their own organization and can be edu entrepreneur. Then obviously as the edtech companies are blooming, there is a huge need of instructional designer who at the back end design the whole complete instruction for those what you see on the screen. So that we require instructional designer. And apart from that, as different careers are evolving, the adolescents are getting confused where to move, so that teachers can be a career counselor. So these are some of the basic or common or uncommon non-traditional roles which you can find that the educators can move into apart from being a teacher. So this is a short discussion about that how new career reforms are taking place into education. Now I'll move into the discussion, and I would like to pose questions to my experts to my panelists because they know very well about those careers into which they are and how the teachers can move into. So first, I would like to pose my questions to Dr. Nivedita. May I, Dr. Nivedita?
Sure, please. My pleasure.
Okay. Dr. Nivedita, as you are related to Nine Links, so I would like to ask that which certification courses will you suggest for getting skills in assessment?
Sure. So here, Dr. Nimisha, very while of course there are various organizations who can help a student or a professional in the space of assessment, in the space of psychometric assessments. So some of the other certifications or some of the certifications that I can very clearly think of is that there are organizations which certify or which orient you about psychometrics in itself as a subject. So which helps you understand the basics of psychometrics, how a test developed, etc. Besides that, there are several renowned tests, right? So, which could range from behavioral assessment, personality assessment, to aptitude, ability assessments, and several other types of behavioral assessments as well, right from projective techniques and other Likert scales. And, we have various renowned tests such as 16PF, MBTI. So, obviously, certification in these specific tests, which can help one understand how do psychometric assessments function when we are talking about such renowned tests, right? What are the basics of these tests? How have they been developed, the theories behind these tests, or how these tests have been, how do you score them, how do you interpret them? So of course, the other certification that I can think of besides psychometric assessments as a basic conceptual knowledge certification on various tests. And thirdly, I would also want to emphasize the importance of research methodology, right? Which is where, in terms of how our tests develop, if even if you have to understand that if a test is being used, it could be for various purposes, right? It could be for developmental purposes, or for understanding the abilities of a child, or or an employee in an organization. And wherever we have to apply it, right? So obviously every organization would want to understand what is the return on investment, ROI, as we typically call it, right? And if you're comparing several groups and if you want to arrive at certain conclusions, so I think basic certification or basic understanding of research methodology also becomes very important, right? And lastly, of course, I think there are several organizations and several institutions which also offer programs in people analytics or data analytics. So that kind of brings in a different outlook altogether in terms of using psychometric assessments, applying them, and also clubbing it along with hardcore statistics or data analytics. I think if somebody is able to gather this knowledge, then I think they literally become an expert on in the space of psychometric assessments. I hope that is helpful.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nivedita. My next question to you is that what are the main concepts of assessment that student must know for interview in assessment industry? Like you are from the psychometric industry. There are many other assessment industries also. Many students want to move in their career towards assessment industry. So
Right.
basically, they have to go for the interview. So how they will do the preparation? What type of concepts they should upgrade so that they are able to crack those interviews?
Sure, of course. So yes, so while there are a lot of students who would love to have their career in the space of psychometric assessments, we also hire a lot of interns for that matter. And as you just said that that they would appear for various interviews. So obviously, when you are applying for a role in an organization which specializes in psychometric assessments, I think some basic or rather an in-depth knowledge on how psychometric assessments work, right?
Mhm.
In terms of the theory behind psychometric assessments. Then, of course, when we talk about psychometric assessments, it's also important to understand various types of tests, right? So now these types of tests could range any from Likert rating scale questions to projective techniques to aptitude tests to ability tests, behavioral assessment, situation judgment tests. So, of course, it is very important to understand what are the various types of tests that are not only prevalent in the industry but also which are more current and more I think more scientific, right? So as we all know that rating scales are very popular, right? They're very common because they're easily to develop, easy to construct. But of course, as assessment experts, we do understand that there are several challenges with Likert scale. Most importantly, or most commonly, we know that the biggest challenge of a Likert scale is social desirability index, right? So of course there are several other tests there might be certain pros of having developing those tests, while there might be several disadvantages of that. So it's important to understand various types of tests, what are the advantages of these tests and what are the disadvantages. Besides that, of course, every test will have their credibility, right? So when we take, say, credibility in layman terms, but we all know in scientific terms it is called the standardization of a test, right? And when we split this standardization, so all that basically gets included in standardization is the reliability, validity, and the norms, right? So of course, when we break it down further, it is not only important to understand what reliability is, what validity is, or what norms is. It is also important to understand what other types of reliability, validity, and norms, because if you want to establish, let's say, internal consistency, reliability, one needs to understand what alpha coefficient is, or when we talk about inter-rater validity, or when we talk about concurrent validity, right? So as an expert in psychometric assessments, if you're applying for a job in the space of assessments in any industry, whether it is in an edtech organization, or whether it is in a corporate sector, or in the L&D division of a corporate, it's important to understand what is the validity that we're talking about, right? Or what are the norms that have been established? Is it a STEM score? Is it a percentile? Right? What are the various norms? And I think something else that's very important to understand is the ethics of psychometrics.
Mhm.
Not only is the application of psychometric assessments is important in terms of where the test will be applied, right? Will it be for the development of a child, right? Is it going to be used for a career counseling purpose? Is it going to be used for a recruitment purpose, right? Or is it going to be used for the development of an employee? So these could be certain applications, but of course, along with application, there comes in responsibility, right? So I think the ethics of psychometric assessments is very important, right? And I guess that's very essential when we're talking about counseling and coaching, right? So in terms of interpretation, in terms of counseling and coaching, the ethics part, what the world is talking about, right? I think in the given times, ethics and integrity stand at the top of any organization, right? So again, with assessments, ethics come, is it's quite interplayed here. So yes, so I think it's also important to understand what are the various ethical principles of using psychometric assessments. So that, I think, yeah. So I hope that kind of
Okay.
sums it up.
Yes, so students and the audiences who want to move into assistant industry. So basically, just tie your belt and prepare for the interview. And just while preparing for the interview, just come to know about what are different types of tests, how they are prepared, what are the steps, what are the ethical principles for preparing a test, and how the integrity of the test is measured. So you should be very well aware about all these things if you want to move into the assessment industry. Now I want to move my next question to Ms. Shraddha D. She is a recruitment manager from Teach for India, and I think as a recruitment manager, I think she'll be able to more focus on that what all are required uh, for the career into Teach for India. But when Ms. Shraddha, it comes for Teach for India, still many of the people doesn't know that what this fellowship is. So before starting with the question that how we can move into the career for Teach for India, just let us know that what is Teach for India fellowship.
Sure. Thank you, Nimisha, ma'am. Let me, I'm really thankful for this platform to share about our organization. So, Teach for India is a 15-year-old organization working in the social impact sector now. And we have a program called Teach for India Fellowship for graduates, working professionals who would like to bring change through education in our country. So, a lot of the students come from school of education, or even if you read newspapers and everything, you would know that there are 50 million children in our country who do not attain foundational literacy and numeracy. Apart from that, they are facing anxiety issues at tender age. There is child labor problems that children are facing. So, Teach for India started with this mission to create a movement of leaders, and our vision is to build India free of poverty, filled with love. And we are trying to provide excellent education to all children in our country. And we are doing that through our fellowship. So, it's a 2 year full time paid fellowship program that we have for anybody who's interested into bringing change through education. We see teachers not as teachers but leaders. So our program is designed in a way that in the 2 years the fellows develop different leadership skills. Nimisha ma'am, you were sharing about different career opportunities that are available, right? The world is completely changing. We need multiple leaders in the social impact sector. So the fellowship equips them with basically the knowledge, skill and mindset required to become leaders in this sector. And we work in 9 metro cities currently, in low income private school and government schools. So we place our fellows there for 2 years. They teach there, but the teaching methodologies are not like very old school. The NEP is sort of we have some contribution to that as well, because we have been working with multiple governments on providing like the excellent education that could be provided. So that's about my organization. That yeah, I hope that's clear.
Thank you, Shraddha ma'am. Very nice to hear that how Teach for India is working for the social cause, for the education of the socially deprived, and to make you aware that my few of the students of School of Education LPO are working with Teach for India.
Yes, ma'am.
In last few years, our few students have gone there, and they are having a very good experience. They share the experience, and they are having a very good experience about Teach for India. Ma'am, my
Yes,
next
ma'am.
question to you is that what are the roles and responsibilities a B.Ed graduate can play under teaching fellowship?
Yes. So, as I mentioned, ma'am, the program is not just focused on teaching, but more of a leader. So, we also consider this framework as teachers as leaders. So, they would be obviously primarily placed as teachers in a government school or a low fee income school, but they would be developing stakeholder management. They would be designing lesson plans every day and unit plans and researching different methodologies which are practiced across the country. In our fellowship in the second year, we also ask our fellows to do a project called Be the Change Project. So students, fellows, when during the fellowship, they identify one problem and they work on it through a project. So that sometimes also pan out to be organization post fellowship. So a lot of our alumni also start their own organizations. One of our alumnus was also part of Shark Tank. Aniket Devgar, he got some funds from Shark Tank. So there are 160 plus organizations that they started, which was part of their BTCP program during the fellowship. So all the responsibilities that a normal teacher has, but it's not restricted to that. Our program is designed in a way that they develop these skills of planning, execution, stakeholder management, data analysis. They use data on everyday basis and make data-based decisions and change their methodologies based on that. We work very closely with different stakeholders. Not teachers are not just interacting with the parents in PTMs, but they also do community visits during the fellowship, understand the context of our children, where they are coming from. So basically, so like planning, execution of lessons, and the project that I mentioned, project management, stakeholder management, and yeah, that's basically, these are the responsibilities that a fellow has. And for 2 years they do this amazing work, and at the end of the 2 years we also provide a career fair support for them. We have a career readiness program in our program as well, so that they during the fellowship they identify where they want to work post fellowship. So as you mentioned, somebody might love to work at curriculum level, somebody would like to work at policy level, or start their own organization, become a school leader or a teacher trainer. So we also have during the fellowship some learning tracks for them. Apart from teaching, they are also part of it. And at the end of fellowship, towards the last 2 3 months, 150 plus organizations from all across our country come with their job openings for getting these amazing leaders that are developed through the fellowship. So yeah.
That's great. But one thing I want to know, suppose the fellowship is for 2 years. Someone wants to
Yes.
continue with this fellowship, enjoying the job, the roles and responsibilities. So there is a
Yeah.
opportunity for continuing with the fellowship.
Yes, so we have a small program called Transformational Teaching Fellowship. Some of the fellows feel that there is a need of spending one more year with us. So we also have that program. They apply for that role also when they are in the second year of the fellowship. But apart from that, some of them might be really deeply interested into teaching. So there are a lot of teaching opportunities that come up. The organization, the schools come with their teaching roles as well. So we also support them to transition into those career pathways. So our program is designed in a way that we equip them with these leadership skills and help them stay in the sector, uh, and provide like these multiple opportunities for them. So policy level organizations, edtechs, schools, and at Teach for India we also have positions open for them. Somebody wants to become a program manager and coach fellows. They want to work with adults and develop their leadership skills. So we have our internal career fair and at the same time external career fair, which helps them to continue their career trajectory and go in that direction of building, India free of poverty, filled with love, and providing excellent education to every child in our country.
Okay, so it means those who want to remain with teaching as a cohort, so they are
Yes.
not moving away from that teaching cohort, and they can be very near to the society, can serve a society along with their teaching passion. That's
Yes,
great.
but there are different pathways as you mentioned. So they
Hmm.
identify where they want to go and we support them to go in that direction. So our program managers, fellows are also assigned a program manager who's their coach for 2 years. So
Hmm.
they would be closely working with them, helping them what area they want to continue working long term, right? And a lot of our alumni actually go to do masters in Ivy Leagues and a lot of amazing institutions of our country. We also support them during that. The program is very on ground hands on experience, so our alumni also crack scholarship, more than 50%, 100% scholarships, like shivning and many other opportunities that they have. And just wanted to add one more thing, that Teach for India is part of a global network called Teach for All. So there are 62 plus countries which are part of this. So our fellows get a global network during the fellowship. It's not just Teach for India. Um, that's the region that they're working with, but it's a global network that they get. And we have more than 5,000 alumni now working in 23 states. So they also get an access to these alumni working from like grassroots level till policy level. So, yeah.
So if someone wants to move from fellowship to scholarship,
Yes.
like you're talking about global scholarship, so what is the path, how they can move into that?
So our alumni have already cracked, and we have a careers team dedicated helping students to do that. So during the last 2 3 months, as I mentioned, when they're like completing the fellowship, our alumni support them write the essays, identify the scholarships that are eligible, and all that. So just we have a support system for them to crack that.
Okay, thank you so much, Sharda ma'am. Now I would like to pose a question to Miss Urmi. She is an instructional designer in an instructional designing company, Henry Harwell. So as instructional designing is coming out as a very blooming cohort or a career, I can say. So many of the students are very passionate towards moving that we want to become an instructional designer. So how do a professional teacher can contribute to instructional designing? Because when we think of, like, when we see, it comes to our mind, it is a prejudice that only the BTech or the computer science students can become an instructional designer because it is something related to programming. But how a professional teacher can contribute to instructional designing?
Well, firstly, thank you so much, Dr. Nimisha. This is really a very huge question that you have asked me to answer to. If I talk about the teachers, now we have to understand what a teacher does specifically. Is a teacher only teaching a student, or is a teacher really creating the learning and development company within herself or himself? Because teaching means right from the beginning, if we see what we do as a teacher, we understand our students, we understand what the curriculum wants from us, and what we have to deliver. So there are three things, right? Starting from the planning to analysis to develop, and then delivery comes. And this entire thing, a particular role can perform, which is instructional designer, right? And if I look at the corporates are also not doing anything different. If I talk about my experience, when I started my career, it was into teaching. So I started as a toddler teacher right after I completed my B.Ed. And then I jumped into teaching because, of course, that was something we have been grown up with. Like you complete your graduation, then you do your B.Ed and you can become a teacher, right? So that is how when I started, it was a toddler teacher, then moving into middle school, then high school, college. And right now, when I'm serving myself in the corporate, I can see that the ground is same. There is no difference in that. It is just the shift in the mindset. It is just the shift in the approach, and it is just the outcome is different. That is it. But the objective is all the same. Whenever we prepare any plan, we always go back to our Bloom's taxonomy, which is something very basic. Everybody does, every teaching professional does. In fact, when we talk about the delivery, we always think about, oh, can I do the flipped classroom? Oh, can I do the project methodology? Can I actually look at the blended technology also at the same time? Because right now we are talking about edtechs, right? So if you see, these things are not different. This has been, or it was something that we have been practicing as a teaching professional. It is just when we are coming to the corporate, it is a trainer mindset we have to think. It is not the pedagogy or the children we are catering to. Here, our target audience is the andragogy or the adults. So that is the only mindset difference. Other than that, it is all same. Yes,
Yeah,
if
so
you talk about, yeah,
we can
so
say that
sorry,
as a
yes.
teacher, you remain a teacher, being an instructional designer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Once a teacher is always a teacher. It is just the position, the role, the audience, the process, the industry changes, nothing else. Yeah.
Okay, Miss Urmi, my next question to you is that what are the strategies you will suggest to train the budding in instructional designer? Like this is a very different cohort. Like you are saying that the once a teacher remains a teacher. The basic of teachings they are already learning. But when it comes to
Yes.
moving towards the corporate sector of instructional designers, something different they must be requiring. So what are those strategies which you need suggest that they should be trained into?
Yes, absolutely. So this is a very good and thoughtful question that we should be known about, especially when we talk about the corporates. As I said, the mindset needs to be changed. The skill set also needs to be changed. Now, when I'm talking about skills, as a trainer in the corporate, you need to look at the business strategy. What is the business wanting from me? Is it an ethic? If it is an ethic, what is it we need to do? We need to look at the K-12, which curriculum, which country are you, giving or contributing towards? Because every country comes up with their own educational methodology. Their complete capacity building methodology is different. Their objective is different. Firstly, we need to understand which industry are we into and what is it the expectation that the country, the industry, the company is wanting from us. It is nothing but we need to combine the technology and we also need to combine the subject matter expertise. So if I have to give you one example here, let's say if I belong to English department, right? As English department, as English teacher, what do? It is something we try to deliver any prose, any story, any poem, whatever you say, but we try to deliver with a morals, right? There is something that we need to learn and provide and go back to the society. And when it comes to edtech, what we do, we call it as immersive learning. So what we try to do there, it is not only English as a literature or as a language we prepare the lesson plans of, we also try to combine other subjects. Let's say how this particular lesson is going to impact in geography. Can I also connect it with the history? Can I also connect it with maths? So that is immersive culture that we always try to include when we work in the edtech. That is one mindset, and that is very important. And along with this, there is another skill also comes up that is what we call as graphics design skill, which is very, very important nowadays. It can be a very basic graphics design skill, and for that we have lots of tools one of the prime tools everybody uses nowadays is Canva, right? Gone are those days when we use the PPT, which is the traditional presentation tool. But we have also come up with multiple tools. So we need to know about those tools, which is very, very important. If I come to training, now training doesn't mean that you have to be a corporate trainer always. You can also be a trainer in the government organizations. You can also be a trainer in the schools as well as a consultant, as you mentioned in the beginning, Dr. Nimisha, that an instructional designer can also work as a consultant trainer as well at the same time, wherein we prepare the PDs for the teachers. We call them as personality development for the teachers. And those development, whenever we deliver it, we try to combine all kind of digital tools into it, just to make the classroom very engaging, very interactive. Because nowadays, if you look at the audience, also with the new generation of audience, like the Gen Z, that we are normally going to, interact with them or going to teach them, they are more into text. So we teachers or we instructional designers or we trainers need to be tech savvy. That is the prime skill set that is needed. So that is one way. And the last one, if I talk about corporates, therein we need to do a lot of research. It is to do with behavioral skills. We need to know about, like how rightly Dr. Nivedita mentioned about the psychometric test. It is very important to actually find out what is the behavioral issue that particular adult learner is looking for or that employee is looking for. Because once we become an adult and we start working in the corporate or for that matter any private organizations or government organizations, we have multiple responsibilities, and based on those responsibilities we work accordingly. So if I have something in my job details, I only have to work like that. I don't have to think about anything else. So how to stick to that and how to perform better is something instructional designers create content for them. So that is a thorough
Seems
analysis we do. Yes.
Thank you, Miss Urmi. And it seems very interesting of being an
Yeah.
instructional designer. Lot of things we are exploring, like what you are saying, I can imagine, and it is looking like very interesting field for the budding teachers. Okay, thank you, Miss
Yes.
Urmi. Now, my last question is open for all of you because this is a very common question which is asked by the students once we ask them to move from a traditional cohort of teaching. So this is a very, very basic question which everyone is asking. That what are the salary differences in these career prospects and how they will help in professional growth? If I am a teacher in a school, that is the best thing. But how the salary differences are there in this career prospects? So I would like all of you to please focus on this that we can satisfy our students that what is the basic salary differences in these career prospects and how they can professionally grow in this career in these cohorts. I would like to start with Dr. Nivedita.
Uh, yeah, so sure. So, well, it would be slightly difficult for me, Dr. Nimisha, because I work on the other side of so it would be very challenging for me to, compare the two because unfortunately, I have always been on this side of the fence, never really crossed being a being a teacher or or an instructor for that matter.
Mhm.
Uh, so maybe doing a comparative analysis will definitely be a task for me. But yes, if I have to share, what are the prospects of having a career in assessments, or what is the salary structure that can one can
We can talk
expect.
about the
So
professional
I
growth, Dr. Nivedita. If it's so, we can talk about what is the professional growth in
sure,
this career.
sure, absolutely. So yeah, so I was just about to mention that. So I think having a career in the space of psychometric assessments opens up several avenues. One, not only you could, as you had very rightly mentioned right in the beginning, that it's a world of technology, right? So there are so many organizations which are in the space of edtech. In fact, there is a specific term. I don't know if the audience out here is, that there's a term that for organizations which is also called psych tech. So typically
Mhm.
we categorize Nine Links as a psych tech company because it's a technology based organization which helps in the space of psychometric assessments, psychological behaviors, right? So of course, I think the avenues are several, which is hardcore psychometrics and technology. So how do you kind of marry the two together, right? And of course, the same could also be used in any learning development division or talent acquisition division of any corporate as well. Right. So right from having an understanding of your basics in psychometrics, one can even rise to the level of a CHRO in the corporate sector as well, as I might want to call it, because the very basics of HR lies in psychology, or so if you have your basics clear in terms of what is the human psychology, so of course your competence in terms of reaching up the ladder as a CHRO is definitely very well laid out, because how do you understand the basic unit of any organization, which is human being. So I think if somebody is an expert in psychology, then of course the process becomes much simpler.
So audience, you can move towards being an CHRO by moving into the psychometric sector. My same question is to Ms. Shraddha, that if someone is in Teach for India, what is their professional growth and what kind of differences they can find?
Sure, ma'am. So, as a teachers, we see like a very linear path, teacher for all these like years. But what I have experienced working in the social impact sector, that we lack the awareness. People think that working in NGOs is like you won't be earning enough. It's a volunteering work that you would be doing. NGO वालों को क्या मिलता है, sort of, the stereotypes or myths that we have about the sector. But when I started working in this sector, I realized there is a huge amazing career growth available. So if anybody starts with our fellowship, obviously for 2 years they would be fellows, but post that they either join at associate positions or managerial. Most of the positions that we open up for our fellows are managerial positions with multiple organizations. So from manager, senior manager, director, and some of them actually immediately jump from a teacher to a founder of an organization as well. So that's also
That's
a
great.
career growth that they have. They become employers, and raise funds and run their own organization. So there is a very proper career trajectory that they have in this sector as well. What I feel is that there is lack of awareness about these career options. Like Urmi ma'am shared, when we do B.Ed, we think okay, teaching is the only job that we can do, but no, there are multiple pathways, and there is really properly set out career trajectory for you. Yeah, that's basically, I hope I answered your question.
I think for audiences, those who want to move towards leadership and administrative post, Teach for India is the best option. We will be moving towards those roles of managerial positions. Ms. Urmi, I would also like to request you to throw some light on this particular point in terms of instructional designer.
Yes, absolutely. So here to answer this question, I would like to tell you one thing, that it depends on which city you are currently staying in. Right, because if you look at, especially in India, we have a very diverse kind of industries and diverse kind of requirements also, based in the skilled person. So if I have to tell you, as a teacher, whatever we earn, we used to earn, I should mention, because right after COVID, there is a huge difference in the compensation. Because during COVID, every teaching professional or every aspiring teaching professional, I'm very sure they have done or they have contributed towards the certifications. The if you say the existing teachers for NCERT you talk, or for from CBS you call, they have mandatory, told the teachers that you have to go for a 40 or 50 hours of training. So that itself is a certification, right? And the moment they are well equipped with this in the arena of technology, immediately their compensation has actually risen enough. But again, it depends on the kind of schools you are into. If you are into the private school, it is a different. If you're into the international school, it's a different. But yes, definitely, I can see, if I have to give you a range, then I would say as a starter, you should be expecting in the tier one cities something around 4 to 5 LPA. That is the exactly amount I'm saying. The reason being that is based on the survey right now it is happening in India. If you go to Glassdoor, if you go to Ambition Box, you can actually see what is the salary package every company is giving, even if it is a school, because school is also run by some charitable trust. So you can always check on that. If you come to ethics, since most of the ethics nowadays are following work from home, because we can see the startups are also coming, and startups are also hiring some vendor companies. Vendors are also hiring some freelancers. So it depends on either hourly payment, it can be a project based payment, it can be a full time payment. But yes, of course, it is again between 3 to 5. It depends on the cities. If you do not have any experience, and if you're also working there as an intern, then your enhanced salary should be in between 10 to 15K per month. That is how it goes in the edtech. And the moment you come to corporate, it's the completely different picture you can see. It is not only the compensation that is high, it is also the other facilities you get. For example, the mediclaims, the insurance, the taxations, and all of those facilities you get, right? But yes, at the same time, it is not only focusing on getting into the corporate, but also surviving there as a corporate employee is also very difficult. So it is not that one time you are doing a certification and you are done and getting into the corporate. The moment you come here, you need to be a constant learner. It can be, I mean, I should not be saying it only in the corporate. It is always there in the educational sector, be it academics, be it corporate, be it a training sector. So that is how the range should be for the starters. And yes, with experience, skill set, and your competency, you can go higher.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great. So, audiences, you can know that you have the huge opportunity in these three types of corporate sector. And it was a very nice interaction, a lovely interaction, insightful interaction. I would like to thank you all from my side and would like to hand over to Ms. Dalvinder.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Nimisha Berry, Miss Urmi Datta, Miss Shada T, and Dr. Nivedita Srivastava. Can we take questions, Dr. Nimisha Berry, as I can see there's some questions from our
Yes,
participants?
yes, sure, sure, sure.
Now let's start with the first question. Radhika is asking here, what are the emerging trends in AI and education technology that offer new career paths for teachers?
I think any
Yes,
of you can answer. They
yes,
expect the answers from you experts only.
yes,
Should I answer this?
yes.
Sure.
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So while working as a teacher, come trainer, or instructional designer, you say there's a huge opportunity in the area of AI. Let's say if you're working in the edtech also, even if nowadays we are completely relying on or depending on AI and taking the content from there as a copy paste content, if there are also tools that can also find out whether your content is actually copy pasted from the AI. So you do not only have to be a person or a professional knowing AI, but also how to integrate it in the right way so that you can become a strategist, a content strategist is something you need to know. So there's a huge, huge opportunity when we use AI in our sectors, in different sectors. At the same time, you need to know how to work on when we say prompt engineering. We also need to look at the plagiarism. We also need to look at the original content creation and the strategy. So this is what I can see right now is the trend going on, and I must say everybody should practice it.
Thank you so very much, Miss Urmita. I hope you got your answer, our participant. Can we take the next question? Okay, Abhishek is asking here, how can educators shift into coaching, consulting, or public speaking within the education sector? Anyone can answer, please, our experts.
I think Miss Shraddha will be able to answer this very well because she is moving into a different cohort of teaching.
Yes, Miss Shraddha.
Yeah, so our fellowship could be a gateway to do that. Like during the fellowship, our fellows work on the facilitation and coaching skills very deeply. We also have some other fellowship programs along with the fellowship, which also equips them with that, and then they can apply for such roles. During the last year of their fellowship, that's one way. But as I mentioned, like there are pathways of doing it. I know some of the alumni entering into such careers of anchoring, or one of our alumnus is working with Netflix currently. So you just have to understand what are the pathways, different opportunities, get some skills related to that and go into that. And as Miss Urmi also mentioned, that it's a learning journey that we have, so you need to get the certifications or the proper courses that are required to make that career transition, and you can definitely move in that direction, basically. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shraddha D. Dr. Nimisha, can we take this question from Fayaz Sheikh? He's asking regarding psychology subject. Can we take this question,
Yes, yes,
Dr.
sure.
Nimisha? Okay,
We have the
ma'am, can I
experts in
ask?
psychology field.
Yes. Ma'am, can I ask you the question regarding the psychology subject? I wish to do the PhD in clinical psychology. Now I would to prefer to do the same university. Will the specific university providing RCI or not?
See, basically, when it's come to PhD, PhD in clinical psychology, obviously, if you move towards clinical psychology, MPhil and PhD requires this RCI approval. So we are into the process of RCI approval. Still, we had not floated the PhD into clinical psychology. Yeah, in psychology, we are having the PhD. So if you want to do a PhD in psychology, you are most welcome. But for PhD in clinical psychology, you'll have to wait for few months. Our approval is soon to come.
I hope, Fayaz, you got to answer from our expert, Dr. Nimisha Berry. Once again, thanks to our all experts, Ms. Urmi Datta, Dr. Nimisha Berry, Ms. Shraddha D, and Dr. Nivedita Shrivastava. As we come to the end of this webinar, I want to express my deepest gratitude to our experts for sharing their valuable insights and expertise with us. Your presence, enthusiasm, and active participation have made this experience truly special. Hopefully, the attendees found this webinar to be valuable and will be able to utilize the information for better decision making regarding admissions. If anyone wants to access this webinar again, they can visit our website, that is lpu.in, or can be accessed on YouTube also. Stay connected with us for future webinars. Until we meet again, with the permission of my seniors, I would be signing off this webinar. Take care and goodbye. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.